Hey guys, it's me Armaan, and I'm in front of the Tiber River in Rome. You may be thinking, what am I doing in Rome? And I'll tell you. I'm on a trip, and by the way, this is not part of the second season. This is a completely different thing. And so I decided to share the amazingness of 4 different places with you, starting with Rome. Okay, so Rome, people think the first descendant of Rome was a mythological figure named Aeneas, who was a child of the love goddess Aphrodite. So his descendants, Romulus and Remus, were children of the war god Ares and Rhea Silva, a princess of a settlement along the banks of the river Tiber. So their evil uncle, of course there's always an evil uncle, decided to throw them and their mom in the river. I'm glad he's not my uncle. So they had to live on their own because their mom died in the river, but it's weird how the 2 babies survived. And they were saved by a she-wolf. The she-wolf raised them, and they took over the kingdom and in a wolfish manner, I guess. And so, since they were raised by a wolf, Romulus killed off Remus because they got into a disagreement. And that's why Rome is named after Romulus and not Remus. Okay, just so you know, the Roman gods are plays on the Greek gods who are made more stricter. Now, there are a few additional Roman gods that were added to the mix, like Cloacina, the goddess of the sewers, which is sort of unnecessary, Verona, the goddess of cattle, and there was even a god of poop, but we won't go into much about him. Hey guys, it's me Armaan, and I'm in front of the highest dome in the world, a 136-meter structure, or 448 feet, with the remains of St. Peter, the legendary St. Peter, buried right underneath this. So this is not actually the original version. The original version was made by Roman Emperor Constantine in AD 324, which is the 3rd century. And it started getting wary in the 15th century, so it was taken down and reconstructed on the orders of Julius Pope II. It was worked on by people like Michelangelo and Raphael, not the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the famous artists, who also worked on the Vatican Museum, creating the Raphael rooms and the Sistine Chapel. The Sistine Chapel took 24 years to make. Now let's talk about how Christianity influenced the Roman Empire. So originally it was a Roman who killed Jesus Christ, and like Emperor Nero, who was cuckoo, persecuted and killed tons of Christians. It was all thanks to a guy named Emperor Constantine, who like basically influenced Rome by adding Christianity. So originally, Rome was split into 4 parts when he was there, and so he took over the rest of Rome and became its emperor once more. And so then in a battle, he saw a vision from an angel who was like, "Paint the Christian symbol on your shield and you shall win." So that's what he did, and surprisingly, he won. So then he started becoming Christian, converting everything to Christianity and making the empire Christian. And for the next few emperors, like Theodosius I, who lived from 346 to 395 AD, they were all Christian. So he changed Rome into Christianity, and there are a lot of Christian sculptures and stuff, and places like this place. He lived from 280 to 337 AD, and he was an amazing person. I'll show you a picture of him on my blog. Make sure to check it out, like you're doing right now. So this is, as I said, the St. Peter's Basilica. It's beautiful, isn't it? Well, I hope you enjoy it. And thanks to Christianity, beautiful works like the ones created by Dante Alighieri would not have been there. So thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a like and tell me what you think in the comments below. See you later. Hey guys, I'm Armaan, and I'm in front of the Roman Forum. The Roman Forum was basically a place, so originally it's the heart of ancient Rome. It was excavated 200 years ago and was literally underground. now people have found it, and here we are. Today we're going to talk about emperors. So before we go into emperors, let's talk about the Senate, who came after the era of kings. Now there were senators during the emperor's reign too, but they weren't as powerful as they were back in the senator era. So the last senator was a dictator named Julius Caesar. You've probably heard of him because he was a genius military. He was a military strategist, but could also be a brutal warlord. He declared himself a god, like a couple of the Roman emperors we're about to talk about. But the most famous part about him might actually be how he was assassinated. So he was assassinated by a bunch of senators who called themselves the Liberators and were led by Gaius Cassius Longinus. His name sounds like Guy with Cash and a long nose, but it's not his name. So he was like him, and another part of the Liberators was Brutus, the adopted son of Julius Caesar. So when Julius saw him on the 44th BC, he was shocked and gave up the fight. He was stabbed 23 times. Isn't that crazy? This is Julius Caesar's tomb. It's really cool, and thousands of people loved him. They loved him so much they exiled the Liberators. And Brutus committed suicide. In Dante's Inferno, him and Cassius were being chewed by 2 of the 3 heads of Satan. So now let's move on to the emperor. In 27 BC, Julius Caesar's nephew, Augustus, became the first emperor of Rome. So he was probably the best emperor. He made financial changes, replacing really annoying and jerk tax collectors with better and more civil ones. He created a new financial system and helped the money and economy. And he also created a better way of messaging. He expanded military borders. He did all of this stuff. He was like great. And originally his name was Octavius, but he changed it to Augustus, which means the illustrious one. And August is named after Augustus. It's like July is named after Julius Caesar. So Augustus was born in 63 BC and died in 1480. The next emperor is Tiberius. He was hated by the Senate, but was actually a pretty competent ruler. Enough about him. There isn't a lot to him. His son is like the definition of messed up. His name was Caligula. Okay, let me tell you a few of the crazy things Caligula did. He dated his own sisters, made his horse a senator, and killed whoever said the word goat. Yeah, he's definitely sane. And his son was born in 12 AD and died in 41 AD. His son, Claudius, was a pretty competent ruler as well. Well, his adopted son was Nero. And so Claudius was killed by Nero's mom, Agrippina the Younger. And Nero, who lived from 37 AD to 68 AD, well, killing was sort of like how people express their feelings sometimes in Rome. So he tried to kill his mother a lot. It failed a couple of times, and he finally did it. He persecuted thousands of Christians, and you know what else? He killed his his wife, and his aunt. The fact that those were like girls is just even worse. So next we have Trajan. Trajan was one of the best emperors. He lived from 53 AD to 117 AD. And then there was Hadrian, who lived from 76 AD to 138 AD. They were actually not from Rome, but they were awesome guys. They really influenced Rome. And the Pantheon, which I did a video about, that was made by Emperor Hadrian. Following him, there were a couple of guys from the Flavian dynasty, and there were a lot of more rulers, but we won't go into much detail about them because they're not very significant. Then we have Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius was awesome. He was like Trajan and Hadrian. He was a genius military commander, and he helped conquer Germany. He was awesome. He did all of these, which I already said, but he was like very competent. After him was Commodus. Commodus is like the definition of slacker. So this guy, he was also a cheater. He was like good for nothing. He was horrible at politics. So he decided he was going to become a gladiator. He's the emperor. He could decide who he wanted to kill, and he cheated since he had control over the Senate. They had to do what he wanted, and so he like killed everybody. Additionally, he was the one who he killed his own. He had his own wife killed, and he was killed by his trainer Narcissus, who, not the arrogant one from mythology, like a wrestling trainer. And then we have Diocletian. Diocletian is the main thing he's remembered for is splitting Rome into 4 parts. And one of the rulers of the Tetrarchy, or 4 parts, was Constantine. We already talked about him in my Christianity video. And after him were a bunch of Christian emperors like Theodosius I. The final Roman emperor was only 16 when he was killed by Odoacer. His name was Romulus Augustus, and he was named after the first king and first emperor. Alright, thanks for listening. Subscribe, and I'm going to do my final video in front of the Colosseum. Make sure to check that out. See you later.